In this module, we'll look at how any community can apply the principles of Aikido economics, metabolism, and the cascade to create a strategic social and economic development plan. And we'll touch on how the plan, in turn, supports and is supported by collaborative and personal development. From a broad strokes perspective, your strategy can be constructed in phases. The first phase is really all about taking some first steps in a relatively low stakes environment. Start building momentum, work out some of your team systems, get accustomed to the worker-owned business structure and the accounting switch, and begin generating revenue so that you can practice metabolism and create your community fund, all while building your core team. To make life easy, consider starting with simple businesses that have few moving parts, require low initial investment, and have short supply and distribution chains, and can produce financial return fairly quickly, even just a little bit. Each community's plan will be unique, but as a model, the bridge doesn't rely on volunteerism, at least not for very long. Examples of what businesses you may run and how they connect can be found in the Cascade module, but as a reminder, the premise the plan follows is for the previous business to help initiate and support the next business, which in turn complements that previous business, and so on. You may find a lot of shifting happening for the first little while, so be prepared for a dynamic environment. And be okay with screwing up, because it will happen. People will come and go and sometimes come back. You may start a project only to shelve it, realizing it will be better suited later in the cascade. Once things are running fairly smoothly and you've created enough space and feel comfortable taking on more projects, Phase 2 will help build financial resources, which leads right into Phase 3, incorporating paying with product and service. Likely these phases will unfold as a spectrum, depending on your community variables. But the reason we ordered the cash business before the pay with product is partly because it's an easier concept to grasp. We're all used to measuring with money, but receiving a pay stub listing cash, haircuts, and lettuce as your salary is a very new concept, not to mention reconciling your books with them. So again, give yourselves time to adjust as your strategy unfolds. Over the next decades, continuously apply and refine your learning and systems from the first 3 phases to larger and larger projects, right up to where your community is providing its own housing, utilities, manufacturing, and other heavily relied upon industries. By now, maximizing the community fund has become a common priority in town. A fresh new generation has begun their working lives only knowing this collaborative environment, and the prospect of living a truly sovereign and abundant life is so close you can almost taste it. All that's left now is to account for services that taxes previously paid for. But if you think about it, this work is already being done. All you would have to do is extend the abundance you've built over the years to those working at those jobs. They receive a higher standard of living, and there's no need to charge city taxes, although you may choose to reroute them into the community fund to be leveraged. Creating the initial plan, attracting local participation, and executing the first businesses within an environment of collaboration, forgiveness, and humility takes a unique combination of individuals for whom it would be a dream challenge. The bridge follows a smooth, oscillating path of successes, progress, and missteps, as opposed to the old style of dumping a bunch of money into a big project only to have it depreciate over time, at which point you have to dump an even larger amount to maintain the old project on top of initiating new ones, which, as we all know, creates a never-ending spiral of debt and inflation. At the start of your journey across the bridge, resist the urge to throw a Hail Mary. Rather than starting with big projects like housing, large-scale food production, or electricity harvesting, start with smaller initiatives like a little knife sharpening shack, local yard maintenance, or maybe selling jams and jellies at the local farmers market. Give yourselves room to naturally unfold your collaborative systems. One challenge we struggled with for more than a year at the beginning of our journey was reverting to old capitalist ways of thinking. Time and again, we catch ourselves defaulting back to the mindset of short-term, money-centric decisions, when many benefits of the bridge stem from multi-stakeholder, multi-generational, people-centric decisions. Especially during the first phase, the businesses within your cascade aren't only to provide financial and material resources, they are just as much venues to practice interpersonal skills and face your own personal challenges. The business won't last long if people can't get along, and people won't get along without discovering their authentic selves. Figure out what days are best to meet, what agenda styles, systems of accountability, and even what messaging platforms work best for everyone. How are newcomers welcomed that involve them enough to stay motivated, yet leave enough room for them to find their own pathway and contribute to the culture? How are decisions made? Are they made by voting or consensus? Do they follow the principles of sociocracy or holocracy? Or is your community able to use the advice process as outlined in Frederic Laloux's book, Reinventing Organizations, which we highly recommend? And how do you plan to share your work with the rest of the community and encourage them to take a look at what you're doing? Once these fundamentals are worked out, at least to the point of having foundations you can tweak, move into phase 2 businesses, which have a larger visible impact. Remember, this is a journey. We can't expect to snap our fingers and arrive in utopia next week. It may not even happen within your tenure. Our job is to fumble through the first awkward and sometimes uncomfortable steps of shifting paradigms, so the next generation has something real to work with. Okay, let's say any town decides to start their cascade with a simple graphic arts business. That business helps start up the next few and creates its own customers by doing their marketing and promotion. All of them are perfectly viable businesses on their own, generating revenue and creating an environment to practice other aspects of the bridge. Maybe other musicians join the piano teacher to collectively form a music academy. The local soap makers may expand their product line and perhaps work with healers to create a wellness center. And what began as a couple people helping tidy your lawn has now attracted more expertise and specialized equipment to beautify more of the community. As time goes on, more and more people realize the benefits of what you're doing. They are thriving in these collaborative environments, and even existing business, who may have done very well for themselves, now see the potential of engaging in their town's coordinated effort, outweighing the benefits of running business as usual. The independent hierarchical model begins to crumble in favor of symbiosis. As the needs of your community changes, naturally, some businesses will fade away while others start up. In a capitalist environment, those associated with a business that closed down are simply out of luck. Individuals are expected to fend for themselves, looking for work and depleting their savings, while inconvenience and frustration build. However, in a community using the bridge, that very same natural shifting of business closures and openings becomes yet an additional benefit. Those who were working in the business that just closed its doors now have opportunities to either learn new skills as they transfer into a business that needs more workers, or they may apply their existing skills to a new initiative starting up in town. Either way, the standard of living to the person never wavers. Only opportunity is created for personal and collaborative growth. And because every business is, in some way, connected to the struggling business, the entire community is motivated to make the most of every change that happens, continually improving everyone's standard of living and extending and receiving fortune with neighboring communities. Before we end this module, let's examine what transitioning might look like from the perspective of the average household. This gray band represents a typical standard of living, working a 40-hour-a-week job obligation. As your town's cascade grows, you increasingly spend more and more time contributing to a community project. At first, it may just be a few hours per week out of your spare time, eventually leading to reducing your job obligation hours in favor of a community business. We know that many of these businesses also reduce household expenses, so at some point you'll reach a threshold where you'll feel comfortable leaving your 9-to-5er altogether. There's no set timeline here, whatever works for your situation. But imagine just the extra energy you have knocking off a couple hours early every day. Imagine the enthusiasm and motivation that comes from being a welcome member of a productive community. Imagine all the personal growth, getting to those hobbies you've been putting off. Cooking, art, writing, road trips, or hanging out with the kids for no reason other than just to hang out. Imagine all the kids who will only know this lifestyle. And imagine being the person who got the ball rolling in your town. By now, the management of your community fund is an artful science. Perhaps you've done a term in governance yourself. Interpersonal systems are becoming second nature within the community, and personal and spiritual development are regular and awaited parts of your day. Now let it ride. Over the next decades, the community fund will morph into a system of access management. The shifting and adapting of community will be a common part of life, and the momentum of expanding abundance frees up resources and mental and emotional space for innovation, shifting humanity into yet another gear. And it's from this upgraded societal platform where all of our favorite forward-thinking, brilliant, clearly ahead of their time societal structures can flourish, releasing even more of humanity's potential. Visit activateus.org for more video modules, books, training programs, and a community to help you take your first steps across the bridge. Hey, thanks for watching. If any of this has piqued your interest and you find your intuition nudging you to learn more, visit activateus.org. We offer books, more video modules like this one, and even training programs for a deeper understanding of the bridge. If you'd like to support our work, feel free to browse our store, where you'll find a range of items with bridge branding and other thought-provoking and empowering designs. You can also support us through Buy Me a Coffee, donate monthly through Patreon, or contribute a larger amount to help kickstart one of our next projects. More than anything though, humanity needs more people and communities putting the bridge into action. So, if you find this intriguing and feel called to look into implementing the bridge in your area, definitely give us a shout. We have a support network in place and plenty of resources to help you begin. Society's evolution won't wait. It's happening now whether any of us are ready for it or not. The only question is, who will be participating and who will be sitting on the sidelines?